How are we? I've missed you. I've told myself that 2024 is the year I come back consistently with my YouTube. So this is the start of something new, as Troy Bolton would say. And I thought the best way to kick things off would be to come back with makeup. And I thought an updated base routine is so needed, like ready to be updated. I think the last one I did, I had a bob, which is kind of crazy to me. Since then, new products, new techniques. Some things are the same, but like definitely new products. And when I say updated base routine, I mean like in depth, talk about the reasons why I do the things that I do, talk about why I love the products that I use, oil controlling, because that's my skin type. I'm talking long lasting, smudge proof, waterproof, just like bulletproof. It's trusty. It's very soft glammy, but that's like my favorite. That's like my go-to for me. It never disappoints me, like trusty products. And I feel like it's a look that looks good on everyone. I do have it on now, but you'll see, you'll see, you'll see. I hope it's helpful and I hope we can have banging bases together. Enjoy. Step number 1. Skin prep. You probably knew I was going to say that. Guys, for me, I hate too many steps before my makeup. I just think it's unnecessary. I also feel like you don't get the best performance out of your makeup because there's too much on the skin. Like you just want to keep it really, really simple. I say clean skin, hydrated skin. That's where my mind goes when I think of it, especially for my skin type too, right? For me, I like something that's gonna kind of lock in moisture, but that isn't too heavy. Even if you've got oily skin like me, if you don't hydrate the skin enough, your skin's gonna produce more oils to make up for the lack of. Does that make sense? I've been loving the new Beauty Crop X Graces Faces Moisturizing and Priming Base, a product that's made to go underneath, so you're not gonna have any trouble with it either. If I show you, see how thick it is, but it's not greasy on the skin. It's also pink, makes it even better. It's thick, but as you blend this into the skin, it really does just start to melt in. It doesn't leave a greasy residue on the skin, but when I tell you this stuff leaves your skin so smooth, I don't know what is in this, but it's unlike any product that I have. The applicator's sick because that one pump is so perfect for my face. Like it's the perfect amount. If I've got like breakouts that are healing, you know, they go a little bit crusty and a bit dry, this is going to hydrate them. So the makeup will go on even better as well, especially if you like slightly more matte products like me. Onto primer. I know that this says primer on it, but I like to use this more as a moisturizer. Now I'm a bit of a prime freak. I know some people think primer is just a bit of a gimmick and it's unnecessary, and that's cool. For me, I like to prime to what I feel like my skin needs. So for me, I like something that's going to make my skin sticky, meaning it's going to grip my foundation and last longer, like a gripping primer. And then I also like a pore filling primer for the center to just smooth everything out. I've got a few different favorites that I switch between, but I'm going to go for the Collection Power Hold Gripping Primer today. This is nice. This stuff is sticky, but it doesn't peel. Take like a pump, a couple pumps of that, rub it between my fingers, and then apply it to the skin. I tend to focus more on the outer parts of my face rather than the center, but as soon as you start feeling it kind of thicken up and grip, take those hands away. You don't want to disturb it while it's somewhat drying down, but you can see how sticky that is? Hold on, look, I've got a cardboard box here. Like this shaded like sticky. Got brow powder here. Sorry. And then for pore filling primer, I've really been loving the One Size Secure the Blur Makeup Magnet Primer. I've been loving this or the Beauty Crop Pore Filter. Today I feel like using this. This is nice because it has a more like moisturizer texture, but then as it dries, it mattifies and smooths the skin. I start going in circular motions and then I'll pat over the top. And can you see already how that's mattifying in that area? Listen, if you are an oily skin babe, put your hands in the air. This is one of my biggest tips, okay? Take some kind of translucent setting powder. It can be loose, it can be pressed. I'm gonna use the peach one from Makeup Revolution, right? Now you wanna take a teeny amount, okay? Teeny, teeny, tiny. I almost swirl it in, and then I tap off all the excess in the T-zone. This is gonna set the primer for one, so it's gonna be even more smoothing. But obviously a light veil of powder underneath the foundation means when the oils start coming through, it's got an extra layer of dry product to work through. So they're not gonna come through as quick. I find this helps me, and if I want like a long lasting base as well, it's perfect. Before I do foundation, I'm just gonna pre-conceal with the Nars Soft Matte Concealer. This is the best for covering breakout scarring. This will just make sure that I don't put down too much foundation unnecessarily. Like I'm going to use this to cover, then I use the foundation to like even out the complexion and just give me that more flawless finish, you know? You can see down here I've got some scarring, so I just lay a layer down. I don't even blend it out because when you put foundation on it, it will blend out anyway. I've got this newbie on my forehead that wanted to join me as well. That can go right now, thanks. Where else? Sometimes I get really carried away with this stuff. I'm like, right, concealer everywhere. Okay, I think we're good. By the way, that's in the shade Toffee. I do normally use custard, but I ran out of custard. So foundation, I do have a few favorites that I kind of go between. I do. I love the mixture of my Nars Natural Radiant and my Nars Soft Matte together. That's a beautiful combo. I love the Ren Beauty foundation, the Haus Labs foundation. I love the new Kylie Cosmetics Power Plush foundation. Being a makeup lover, you do tend to kind of switch between a bunch. But I've noticed this foundation, I don't even know where the lid is at the moment. That's how much I love it. I tend to pick up a lot. I tend to always go back to it. That's kind of a telling sign. And I want to use it today as well. So it's the KVD Good Apple Full Coverage Serum Foundation. I'm in the shade Tan 057. Oily skin babes, don't be fooled by the fact this says serum. It has like a satin finish. Honestly, this is probably one of my most longest lasting foundations on my skin. Ignore that this is dirty. She's well loved. But this is the foundation brush that I've been absolutely obsessed with at the moment. It's from By Caitlin Collection and it's called their Base Bestie. That angle right there just hugs the skin on application. Do you know what I mean? Comes in different sizes. This one's the largest one, but yeah, this just applies cream products so nicely. Picking that foundation up and I'm just going to start to press it into the skin. Oh, and this foundation on the skin as well. I want to eat it, it's so good. Look how beautiful this sits on the skin. And once this is settled down, you'll notice that more satin side to it. God, this foundation just never ever disappoints. Thinking about it, it actually does piss me off that not many people talk about this foundation. I know it did. Have I got a bogey? Sorry. To be fair, I know online it did have its moment, but I just feel like no. Like, can we talk about this more, please? Sometimes for around the brows, I'll take like a little fluffy foundation brush, eye brush, and just make sure I get right close to the brows like that. My bear fell. Hey, sir, stand back up. That was creepy. See how beautiful this foundation looks? It's stunning. Now what I like to do is take a setting spray just to almost lock this foundation here. This one's actually one of my favorites. It's the Pore Filter Mattifying Mist from the Beauty Crop. It's a gorgeous setting spray, but it actually makes a really nice layering setting spray. Honestly, if you want your makeup to stay on all day too, layer a setting spray in between your makeup steps, but make sure it's a setting spray, not a finishing spray, because they're two very different things. Setting spray is going to lock your makeup in, like lock the layers in, and a finishing spray is it's like a MAC Fix Plus. It's going to melt powders in, make the skin more skin-like. That you want to do at certain steps, like after powdering. But this has polymers in. Polymers create like a veil on the skin. Like I said, this is my long-lasting base routine, right? This is when I'm not playing around. I'm going on a night out and I want my foundation to look its best. Do this. Since we last spoke, which I know was a while ago. I know, don't hate the play, I hate the game. No, I'm joking. I am a huge under blusher now. Guys, this completely changed the way my base looked. This technique gives me the most soft glam skin ever. Essentially what it is you do your blush before your concealer. I normally used to do like concealer, bronzer, blush, and it looks great. But this, doing it this way round, really just melts everything together. So there's no start or end to any of the products. They're all really cohesive on the skin. They all like melt together. It's just my favorite technique. And yeah, I'm still on my pink blush game. Although I do like a good orange blush these days, dare I say. Depends on my mood. But we're feeling pinky today. These, baby pink dream. That's all I'm gonna say. Right, first, the Makeup by Mario Soft Pop Plumping Blush Veil. Okay, this is in the shade Pinch Me Pink. I know it doesn't look too baby pink, but just trust me, on the skin, it's bloody gorgeous. To apply this, I'm going to take, I think this is the medium one from the By Caitlin Collection Base Besties. Honestly, I love these for my creams. I can't put them down. So this, yeah, medium. This was the one I used for my foundation. So you can see like the size difference. So foundation, this is going to be for blush. And then this one is the tiny, tiny one that I love for my concealer, but we'll get to that. Look how stunning. I might shed a tear. I can't tell if on camera it's really showing up as well, but it's like a really soft pink. Because I'm under blushing, I'm going to take a little bit more. When you under blush, you can actually go in with a little bit more because obviously you're going to layer a bit of concealer over the top anyway. One of those techniques that feels a little bit crazy and you kind of have to get used to it. Once you start doing it, it's really not as intimidating as you think. Trust me. I like to take my blush up here as well because this is what lifts the face, so I like to go up a bit higher. See that placement, how it lifts? If you want your face to appear more rounded, do the apples of the cheeks. That's the Makeup by Mario shade. And then to be honest, I feel like I just can't do my makeup without my Made by Mitchell liquid blush in the shade Strawberry Cream. This is just a classic for me. This is the ultimate baby pink blush. It is gorgeous. This is huge, by the way. This is the XXL. They're normally like this big, but we've got the big bad boy. It's a more center of the face jobby. Kind of like a gradient, I guess. I take the same brush and I just focus that more here. Like I blend it into the Makeup by Mario, but I keep it more central, if that makes any sense. I'm not afraid to take it more underneath the eye too. Whatever's left on the brush, I take here on my nose. I don't know why, I just like blushing here. I think it looks really cute. Next step for me is concealer. I've fallen back in love with this concealer. I stopped using it for a while just because I was using a bunch of other different products, but I've come back to it. It's the Stay Naked Quickie up to 24-hour wear multi-use concealer from Urban Decay. It's cute too because it comes with like a little brush. I don't use that brush really, but it's cool to have. This is in the shade 30 CP. It smells a bit funky, but it's bloody good. Placement of concealer. This is kind of important for me, okay? Placement 1 is underneath the eyes, but I keep it kind of closer towards my nose. Like I don't tend to put concealer up here anymore, down the sides of the nose, and then I bring it a little bit onto the face, but then round here. I mean, this will spread far anyway, you'll notice. Chin, nose, forehead, standard. I also like a little bit of concealer here to brighten, kind of join this area in. That's my concealer placement. Do I look crazy? Yeah, but when it's blended out, does it look great? Also, yes. Besties, I am a brush girl for my concealer. Now I'm going to take my Baby by Caitlin Collection Base Bestie. Tapping motions, I kind of work bottom up, except the under eyes. Miss the under eyes. By the way, I like to do this area here because I feel like it almost sculpts my cheek here and it kind of fakes those cheekbones. Imagine the concealer in this C shape here to hug and sculpt the cheekbone. That's what I think. This concealer is full coverage and I like it because it's more on the like matte side without being cakey or drying. I feel like a lot of people when they hear matte, they get scared and they're like, oh my God, it's gonna be really gross on the skin. It's gonna look, oh, not the case. Just find the right products. Again, it helps to control my oils, especially as this concealer is obviously in the T-zone, right? Look how smoothing it is as well. It's so good. And now whatever's left on the brush, I take up here again to give me a bit of a lift. By the way, a little tip, if you struggle with creasing underneath the eye, just don't put as much product directly under the eye here. Keep your concealer a little bit lower and blend everything out like this, and then whatever's left on the brush go right underneath the eye. The less product you have, the less chance of it being a deeper crease. Obviously we all have creases. Creases are normal, but just to stop them looking really intense. See the difference with the blush? It starts off looking really pink and now it's really soft. Right, let me get this side blended. Cream bronzer, I'm going to use the Pink Honey BFF bronzing face frosting. This is in Cookie Butter. I like it because it's more of like a matte cream and it's really pigmented, so you don't need to use a lot. I like this shade, or Toffee Truffle, is it? Cookie Butter's at hand today, so I'm going to use this one on this Peaches and Cream. I'm not sure on the number, but it's one of their new brushes. It's the golden pink one, like the angled one. Just a little. I always like to start on the forehead. Make sure I really work that into my hairline, bring it up to the temples, a little bit more in the cheekbone. I kind of squeeze it underneath that blush that we've put down. See that? I know this is a little bit harsh, but we'll blend that out. I like to contour my jawline as well because I fake it till I make it. Because this brush is angled, I like to use like the tallest part here, like almost like the back of the brush in. I kind of like draw here, do you know what I mean? I go up here, across here, and then I flip it back over and I just tap to blend it out. Like, look at that sharp jawline. Do you know what? This is actually a really nice shade because it's not too orangey. If you're looking for something that's still warm but it has the more neutral undertones, this color is great. Like if you're my complexion shade. I've actually got a new favorite nose contour brush. Now, please don't yell at me, okay? I don't know. XX Revolution is what it says on it. The Authority, that's what the brush name is saying. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, the Authority. I don't know if they still sell this anymore. I have no idea, but it's kind of like a mini fan angled brush. For nose contour, it's bloody great. I'm using Pink Honey again, by the way. One side, other side. Nose contour, I feel like it's going to look different for everyone because I think it depends how you like your nose to look. I like mine to look a little bit thinner, and then I like the tip to be lifted. So what I like to do, underneath the nose like that, and then above like that. See how the tip looks like a little scoopy nose, a little button. That's the vibe. I almost connect the sides as well to create like a circle. Kind of looks a little bit like a penis nose contour. Whatever's left on the brush, I'm just going to take off. So there's essentially nothing on there now. I can still use the same brush now to blend everything out. Don't be afraid either to take this underneath the brow like this. Stops anything looking liney, you know, like it kind of connects into my eyeshadow too, like this. Okay, that's somewhat blended. Now, the brush I use for my foundation, just tap over to soften everything. See that? And that's it. That's how I do my nose contour for now. Anyway, I always think, what was life like before I nose contour? Without my nose contour, A, I feel like my nose looks strange, but B, I feel like the center of my face looks really empty. I don't know. That's the saddest noise of all. I am about to move on to powders, but you know the drill. One last generous layer of setting spray to lock in those creams. Same Beauty Crop Pore Filter mattifying one. Powder for me, I take very seriously. I'm a bit of a powder whore. I love my powder. I love setting my skin. Setting your skin, like powder for me, like people always say, how do you make your makeup last? Priming the skin with grip and primer, sure. Setting spray, sure. But powder is really what locks in this entire face. Oh, and another thing that makes your makeup last longer, put enough on. Guys, don't be shy with your product. I'm not saying you have to go crazy and put like chunky layers on, but if you're not putting enough of your makeup on, you'll notice that it's fading, it's not lasting, it's not looking as great throughout the day, it doesn't have that same wear. Could be because you're not putting enough on. Just keep that in mind. But yeah, powders, I just love my powder. I like looking velvety, I like looking matte anyway, and then if I want to, I can bring back a little bit of shine with highlighter or even finishing sprays, but powder for me is my number one. If you are someone with drier skin, you know, you can just set the concealer areas. You don't have to set your entire face like I do. Cater it towards you and what you would like. But me, I like everything to be set. I like velvety, I like matte. I hate my skin to feel sticky. So long as I don't feel sticky, I'm happy. I always like to start with setting underneath my eyes. So my all-time favorite powder for underneath my eyes is the Jordana Ticia Set and Brighten Duo in the shade Half Baked. This one's the tiny one. I do have the big one. I'm just not sure where it is right now. It's probably in a bag somewhere. I have no idea what Jordana are putting this, but it's actual crack. What it is a loose powder on the bottom and a pressed powder on top. The pressed has more pigment, it's more brightening. The loose is what you use to set, so I'm gonna use the loose. Just wait till you see what this does to my under eyes. I like to tap the powder on like this first, and you can see you get more of like an even coat on the powder puff of powder. Hello. There you go. You can see it's like an even layer. By the way, this is the Trigwell powder puff. Tap out any creasing. Sorry, the blur. Is that some kind of sick joke? This is why it's my favorite. I can just stamp one. Look at the stamp once. Look at the blur. It's actually nuts. Another tip, by the way, if you're finding that your under eye powder is not setting your concealer as well as you want it to, say you're getting little patches or clumping up, it could be because your concealer's too wet. Maybe try using a less wet hydrating concealer, or use your concealer that you love and then take something like the Nars Soft Matte on a little brush, because obviously these have way less sort of hydration to them, and put a really, really light veil over the top to kind of somewhat set your concealer without using powder. Does that make sense? Then go in with your powder, just to stop so much wet stickiness, because obviously what's happening is your powder is sticking to the wet skin. Another option, maybe try using a more damp sponge rather than a powder puff to apply your powder. That could work. Just some options for you. Okay, now I'm going to set the rest of my face with my I Heart Revolution Peach Baking Powder. So chin, upper lip. I don't even really worry too much in this moment about like proper blending it out. I'm focused on pressing the powder into the skin. Like I want this skin to be set. Can you see how I almost like cup it as well on like the upper of the cheek? Because that will help sculpt even more. By the way, this powder's like £5–6. It's so good. Even under the eyes it's nice, but I just like it all over my face. Like look how smooth and blurring it is. I'm also going to carve out my nose a little bit with this too. I guess I'm kind of using this powder to bake. Forgot to mention I set everywhere, but not my bronzer and my blush. I like to let the powder bronzer and powder blush do that. By doing that as well, you avoid this area going grey. Sometimes powders, foundation powders, they can do that. It's just the colouring of the powder mixed in with this, you know. New favourite foundation powder. Now Fenty still has my heart, okay? But this from One Size, this is the Turn Up the Base Versatile Foundation Powder. I use the shade Medium 4G, so this has more golden undertones. I like it because the formula is more on the thin side, but it does everything I want it to do. And the finish of it is so lush. So I like to go with a foundation powder now to obviously dust off any bake. Peaches and Cream PC08 brush. This is my favorite for this. Get in there. I press into the skin. I don't swipe. Like, can you see that already? How it's softening, but keeping shape. That is exactly what we want. I like to use the foundation powder for my nose as well. Like, see how mattifying that is? But it's like a blur. Stun. At the moment, I've been loving this bronzer from Sheglam. It's the Sunside bronzer. This is the shade Sunstar. For some reason, it really, really reminds me of my MAC Give Me Sun. It's matte, which is my favorite, but the shade, it has that like goldeny sun-kissed bronze, which I just really like on top of all this colouring. So this is, what am I looking at? The brush, PC04 from Peaches and Cream. Peaches and Cream are my favourite brushes, by the way, so you'll see me use these a lot. I'm basically layering this on top of everywhere that I put the cream bronzer. Tap too, because don't forget we're setting cream right now. Once that's powdered, then you could go in with little circular motions. Before you do that, you obviously want to make sure it's set so we don't disturb. I don't know if you can see, but on the cheek we still have a slight bit of shine, which is nice. Not like a wet shine, but just like a nice shine. Cute. I always like to really buff this into my hairline as well. Do you know what's really different about this base routine compared to my previous ones? I actually don't like to be bronzed. I like to be a little bit more blushed. I don't know, that's just more my vibe these days, which is odd, right? I still like my bronzer, but like, I like my blush more. For powder blush, I've got two different options. I do like to keep that baby pink theme going on. These are two go-tos. Now one is more like of that blue toned, cool toned baby pink blush over the other. Sometimes I like to mix them as well. It just depends on my mood. But one of them is from Primark. £1.50 this blush is, and it is absolutely gorgeous. This is in the shade Posy. How adorable is that shade? So this is the more cool toned one. The other one, this is from a brand called Sweet One. I actually found these guys on TikTok, but they're a small business. This is in the shade Baby, and this has those slightly warmer tones, but they're both gorgeous. They're both matte as well, which is my favorite. Maybe I'll use both. I'm gonna go in with the Primark one first though. This is pigmented, by the way. You only need a little bit. I love to use the Peaches and Cream PCO3 brush because, can you see how it's a bit more fluffy? It's more flexible, so you get like a light dusting of blush, which I like, and it's small, so it fits in this area perfectly. But apple of the cheek, going back, really, really light pressure. I build it up slowly because I want it to be really diffused into the under eye and into the cheek. See how cute that shade is though, I'm obsessed. Again, up here on my nose, sometimes even a little bit on the tip. The Sweet One blush, I'm actually going to take more up here. I'm not going to touch the center of my face, I'm more so going to put it up here because obviously it has a little bit more warmth, so sometimes a shade like this is nice to put up here into the bronzer. I think this actually might be one of my favorite steps for my makeup because it just finishes everything so perfectly. So the Jordana Ticia powder that I used earlier underneath the eye, I'm now going to take the pressed bit that sits on top. If you want a more intense pigment, use a powder puff. If you want a more light dusting, use a brush, because this is a brightening powder, so obviously the brush will pick up less and give you more of a diffused look. I typically use a powder puff, but I'm actually going to use a brush today. Dust away the bake too, and I bring it into the blush. Sometimes I like to take a little bit as well, just like on the chin and in the center of the forehead, just to kind of balance everything out. Sometimes even on the corner of the mouth, like this. I love it. Trust me, in real life, like it makes such a difference. I almost forgot, but I love to add like little moles on my skin. I'm just using my eyebrow pen. I like one there. So I am typically more of like a matte skin girl, but if I do add highlighter, these ones from Haus, they're literally unbelievable. Like, look at these shades. They're called the Bio Radiant Gel Powder Highlighter. This shade, this is the shade Sunstone, which is like your champagne gold. And then this shade, this is Rose Quartz, which is like a pink. It just depends on my mood, but these are so interesting. I don't know, they just, like, do you see that? There's no glitter. Got like a soft sheen to them, which I like. Like this is a blush topper, is gorge. I used the pink one today, just watch this. How stunning is that shade? Like you can actually see the pink. See how it's kind of like enhanced the pink on my cheek as well, which I like. I don't know if it's like the gel powder technology inside of this, but they're so pretty. And then look, if I took a little bit of, look at that. Oh, a little bit of the gold one on top, it will just make it pop. Hold on, I almost forgot. My nose contour, I'm just literally going to take my same bronzer, like a tiny bit. I can still see the nose contour, but I just want to enhance the tip a tiny bit more. Use my finger just to blend that in. You know, final step, setting spray. I like to use two types. So I'm going to go back in with my Beauty Crop Pore Filter Mattifying. This one's just kind of standard for me. And then the ultimate one, if I really want to lock this base in, which is what we're doing today, because this is like the ultimate base, one size. On Till Dawn setting spray. This is the mini one. I need to get the big one, but it's always bloody sold out. We are locked in, let me tell you. And that, guys, is my finish. Like ultimate base routine. Besties, the look is done. The look is complete. What do we think? Are we loving? This is my trusty base. This is the way I do things. It never lets me down. And I wanted to share that with you and hopefully it was helpful. Okay? I love you and you better be ready to start the glamming sessions because they're coming. Okay? YouTube grind is back, baby. Back like I never left.